Hello and welcome to Good or Bad. So I've just seen Baghead. And it was bad. Baghead is a dark and gloomy jump-scare-riddled supernatural horror film about a broke young woman who inherits an old run-down pub. Which, to be fair, did look great. The pub itself had a lot of character to it. You could really tell it had a history. And the film overall had a lot of great cinematography. Well, that's the positives out of the way then. So once Iris, who is one of our main characters, takes ownership over the pub, she discovers it comes with a terrifying burden. Guess the solicitors left that part out. In the basement dwells a mysterious supernatural entity, which seeks only one thing: to get out of the basement and unleash its evil upon the world. But this entity, which I will just call Baghead, cannot leave without the owner's permission, because for whatever reason, Baghead must obey the orders of whoever's name is on the title deeds. I suppose supernatural entities just have a lot of respect for real estate law. But then again, vampires can't enter your home without your permission, so maybe there's a precedent for that. Oh, and whoever owns the pub cannot leave for an extended period of time, otherwise death and sickness will follow them. So they are both as much a prisoner as the other. Gotta love symmetry. Also, Baghead here can shapeshift and let people talk to lost loved ones. As in, Baghead will literally become that person for 2 whole minutes, conscience and everything. And then after that, Baghead will just take the steering wheel back again. So upon discovering that the supernatural is indeed real, and the terrible burden that has bestowed itself upon her, she tries to cash in on it. Well, isn't that a character you can root for? Her common sense wielding best friend Katie was very much against this. What does she know? Her character is so poorly written she doesn't even affect the outcome of the plot, despite being a main character. Well, that's a win for storytelling, isn't it? Like a less cool Indiana Jones. So yeah, that's the base plot. An evil supernatural entity and exploiting it for money. Due to the fact that Neil, a grieving man wanting to speak to his dead wife again, claims that money is no object. All the while, common sense friend is shoved into the corner. It's stupid. It's really, really stupid. But it did have the potential to be very interesting. A theme that the film briefly touched upon was, what would you do if you could speak to a lost loved one again? What would you give for that? I mean, yes, it is a very done-to-death concept in the horror genre, what with all the Ouija board and seance movies out there. But that doesn't mean it couldn't have really dived into that subject and turned out a genuinely thought-provoking movie. Instead, it proceeded to throw that out of the window and launch an endless wave of poorly made jump scares at us, which I call a wasted opportunity. A dull story, poor to mixed acting, and across-the-board generic characters with dumb dialogue, which all amounts to a forgettable, sloppy, half-baked movie which I couldn't recommend seeing, at least until it hits a streaming service that you are already subscribed to. So at the end of the day, it's only the good set design and cinematography that keeps this movie's head barely above water. Also, the CGI sucked. 4 out of 10. Spoilers! Okay, spoiler time with Baghead. The villain wins and everybody dies. So one thing that you're gonna need to know is that in Baghead's basement there is the, what I call, guest area. You know, the bit with the chair where they can have a bit of a chin wag with the dead. That's the place where Iris is safe and that she can command Baghead. But there is a dark opening in the wall, which leads to what turns out to be a very bland tunnel. That is the one place where Iris must never go, because that is where Baghead is in control, and it can attack her. So we all know that ultimately Iris is going to have to go in there, and I thought that the conclusion to the movie was going to be set in there. And while she does go in, it amounts to nothing. She is in and out, that's that. You see, Baghead kills Katie and lures Iris into the tunnels to come and save her. Its plan was to shapeshift into Katie and walk out of there with Iris. But Iris spotted Katie's body and realises Baghead's plan and escaped. So we have a pointless character death, hence why she had no real bearing on the outcome of the plot, and the bigged up terrifying tunnels of doom didn't really add up to anything either. I couldn't even say they killed Katie off for the sake of drama. Absolutely nothing came of it. Because Baghead convinced Neil to kill her so that he can become the new owner and see his wife whenever he wishes. And in case you're wondering why she doesn't just simply give the pub away, there is supernatural legislation in effect that states that the ownership of the pub cannot be signed over while the owner is still alive. I know, red tape, it'll drive you nuts. With Iris dead, Baghead then turns into Iris by swallowing one of her possessions, which is how the whole thing works. Personally, I'd have picked a ring, something small like that. Not her phone, which is what Baghead does. Still, gotta admire the gag reflex. Which is when Neil realises he was played. What, an evil supernatural entity has tricked someone? I'm shocked, because now Baghead is Iris, and Iris's name is still on the deeds. So Baghead is the new owner. She then proceeds to bash Neil's head in and set the place ablaze with poor CGI fire. So everyone's dead, and the evil has been unleashed upon the world. Well, if that's not a feel-good ending, I don't know what is. Personally, I don't mind that the villain wins. I just hate it when a movie pointlessly kills off characters. Now, I get it if it's a slasher film, because that's the point of a slasher film, to see characters die. But this isn't a slasher film. This has a very small cast, and it's supposed to be an atmospheric, narrative-driven horror film, and it is pretty much only achieving one of those points, which is that there is no denying it is a horror film. So ultimately, it felt like they were killing them off because they didn't know what else to do with them. As I said, a half-baked, forgettable, poorly written mess of a film. You've been watching Good or Bad, and if you've enjoyed today's video, please hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you next time.